From 4029, this is breaking news.
We're following a breaking news update this afternoon. 3 people are dead and a Fort Smith police officer is in the hospital. 4029's Brett Rains is joining us live from the scene in Fort Smith. Brett, what do we know right now?
Well, right now we're live on the north side of Tillis Avenue, 2800 block of Tillis Avenue here in Fort Smith. And you can see right now the crime scene is very much active. Now, for perspective, we're in between Tillis, Lecta, which is right off North Greenwood, and Grand Avenue here in Fort Smith. Now, this is the latest. According to police, they tell us that at least 3 people are dead following a stabbing and a shooting incident here in Fort Smith. Police tell us it happened early this morning, and that we know right now they tell us that an officer has been stabbed and is undergoing surgery right now. We do not have an update on that officer's condition other than that officer is in surgery right now. We also know that police say that officer fired his weapon, at least at one person, and we don't have much information as far as the actual police shooting goes. But again, they say at least 3 people are dead. State police has been called in to assist with the investigation, which is ongoing right now. We also know there's a 2 o'clock press conference this afternoon at the Fort Smith Police Department, where we're told we'll learn a lot more information. Now, neighbors told us that this morning they woke up and they saw a body lying in the road on Lecta Avenue, something that neighbors here definitely do not see often in this part of town. They say they heard 2 men fighting early this morning in the street. When the officer pulled up, they say one of the men tried to attack the officer with a knife, and police say that's when the officer fired his weapon. Now, the crime scene we know involves one house here on Tillis Avenue and the street in front of the house. So it's kind of a large crime scene right now. We do not know the 3 people who police say at least 3 people were dead. We do not know their relationship right now or their involvement or how this happened. That's something we're expecting to find out at 2 o'clock this afternoon when police hold their press conference. All right, now as we come back, we're still working together. A lot of news. Neighbors we talked to, some thought they heard a gunshot. Others didn't know anything until police were knocking at their door this morning. But we know, according to police right now, they say at least 3 people are dead. That an officer fired his weapon, shooting at least one person. That officer was stabbed, is right now in surgery, and we do not have an update on his condition just yet. But of course, we'll bring you the latest, especially when that press conference happens here in Fort Smith this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Live in Fort Smith, Brett Rains, 4029 News.
All right, well, this is a developing story, so make sure you stick with 4029 News. We'll bring you all the latest information throughout the day and tonight on 4029 News at 5 on the Arkansas CW and 5:30 right here on ABC. Make sure you download the free 4029 News app for all the latest updates. You can find it to download in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. We'll see you tonight.
This is breaking news.
We're following some breaking news this afternoon. 3 people are dead and a Fort Smith police officer is in the hospital. Police say the bodies were found on the 2800 block of Tillis Avenue. We want to turn now to an update from authorities about this incident.
Thank you all for coming out today to be with us. We have a prepared statement from Chief Baker. We'll not be taking questions afterwards, so this prepared statement will be all that we have, and then we'll dismiss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. As he said, I'm going to provide a statement, as detailed a statement as I can regarding the events that transpired early this morning in Fort Smith. I will not be taking any questions at the end. Hopefully this will provide a good overview of what we're dealing with. So at approximately 6:20 a.m. this date, the Fort Smith Police Department received a 911 call reporting an active disturbance in the residential area of Tillis Avenue and Lecta Avenue. According to the caller, this person heard yelling and screaming, came outside to see a white male with no shirt assaulting a person on the ground at the corner of the intersection. Officers were immediately dispatched to a disturbance fight with weapons. A 16-month officer with the Fort Smith Police Department was the first to arrive on scene and announced his arrival within 2 minutes and 15 seconds of being dispatched. In just under a minute, This officer reported that he had been stabbed in the neck and shots were fired. As more officers arrived, the injured officer was rushed to a local hospital with serious laceration to his throat and neck. The officer underwent emergency surgery and is currently stable and recovering at an undisclosed location. This is what we know and can release at this time. Upon his arrival, our officer encountered 40-year-old Christopher Connor of Fort Smith beating a 15-year-old male child in the face and head with a rock. The officer ordered Mr. Connor to stop. Connor initially appeared to comply. The officer approached Connor to place him in restraints, and Connor produced an edged weapon, slicing the officer's throat and neck. The officer fired 2 shots from his service weapon, striking Connor, killing him and ending the threat. The 15-year-old male was rushed to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. The child had sustained multiple stab wounds and blunt force trauma. The child's been identified as Connor's son. Shortly after the encounter with Mr. Connor, officers discovered another victim inside 2018-19 Tillis and evidence of an extremely violent attack inside the home. 42-year-old Julia Marie Moore was found deceased from apparent stab wounds. A 5-year-old child was also located in the home and removed to safety. This child is currently in the care of the family. I have no doubt that our officers' swift actions saved this young child's life. Because this horrific incident involved an officer firing their weapon at a person, I have requested the Arkansas State Police to take lead in the investigation. As dictated by our policies and procedures and normal in these types of incidents, the officer who shot Mr. Connor will be placed on paid administrative leave for a minimum of 3 days and as long as is necessary to ensure a proper investigation as well as the health and well-being of the officer. A second officer, who will remain unnamed, has been placed on leave pending post-critical incident treatment and was not involved in the shooting. As the Arkansas State Police works to conclude their investigation, I know there are going to be many questions in the coming days. Fort Smith is a wonderful community, and when unimaginable tragedies like this happen, we're all left scared, angry, frustrated, sometimes hopeless. No one believes in the sanctity of life more than the men and women of the Fort Smith Police Department. Each one of us are sworn to protect it at all costs. So it hurts us as much as it does each of you when an outcome like this is unavoidable. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for officers who are willing to put their lives on the line when evil threatens our community. I'm thankful for the medical team who took care of our officer, and I'm thankful for a community that always pulls together when tragedy strikes. My heart goes out to all of those who've been impacted by this terrible event. Please pray for all of us. Thank you and good evening.
Okay, well, you just heard from Fort Smith Police Chief Danny Baker. Just want to recap some of those details we just learned. So what we found out was at 6:20 this morning is when Fort Smith Police received that call and were sent to that home over there on Tillis Avenue. Police officers found 40-year-old Chris Connor beating his son, a 15-year-old, with a rock. Unfortunately, that 15-year-old was transported to the hospital and pronounced dead there. Police, when they arrived on scene, that officer, within a minute of arriving on scene, was stabbed with an edged weapon in the neck by Chris Connor, the 40-year-old. And of course, we'll have much more details coming up tonight on 4029 News at 5 on the Arkansas CW and 5:30 right here on ABC. You can always download the free 4029 News app for all the latest updates. You can find it in the Google Play and Apple app stores. We'll see you tonight.